Imagine sitting across the table from your spouse, the person you've shared your entire life with, built a home with, and had, literally millions of conversations with. Now imagine realizing that the two of you have just stopped talking. Not out of anger or anything like that, but because one of you simply cannot find the words anymore. And the sheer frustration has finally outweighed the effort it takes to speak. Welcome to this explainer, where we're going to be diving into some truly groundbreaking research out of the University of Oslo that tackles exactly this heartbreaking scenario. It's a tough reality to face. In fact, one wife in a recent Norwegian study shared that they had actually given up talking to each other. Her husband was struggling so much to find his words that he completely stopped taking the initiative to converse. And you can imagine, right? This loss of initiative leads to a profound, quiet isolation for both the patient and their relatives. It's like living in a silent bubble. But hey, the reason we're looking at this research today isn't to dwell on the despair. No way. It's because this new study shows us that connection can actually be restored, and that silence absolutely does not have to be the end of the story.
So the crucial point is understanding exactly what we're dealing with here. When we hear the word dementia, most of us immediately think of memory loss, right? But primary progressive aphasia, or PPA, is different. It's a form of dementia that starts specifically with language. Patients often know exactly what they want to say. The word is right there, hovering on the tip of their tongue, but they simply cannot get their mouth to keep up with their mind. And because of this, they often start generalizing. So for example, instead of pointing to the sofa, they might just call it the furniture. Or instead of saying magpie, they just say the bird.
Now, to put this medical reality into perspective with some numbers, it's estimated that there are roughly 200 people living with this specific language-related dementia right now in Norway. Just 200. While that number might sound kind of small in the grand scheme of things, the impact on those 200 individuals, and for sure their immediate families, is absolute. It literally reshapes their entire daily existence and their ability to connect with the outside world.
This brings us to Part 1, Breakthrough in Norway, Hope Through Conversation Training.
Enter Ingvild Elisabeth Winsnes. She's a speech therapist and researcher at the University of Oslo. In her clinical work, she kept having these patients with PPA referred to her, but she quickly recognized a massive, glaring gap. There was absolutely no structured treatment program available for this specific group in Norway. Nothing. She realized that the single most important thing for these patients is simply being able to participate in conversations with their family and friends. So she looked abroad. She adapted these really successful logopedic methods from the UK to fit the Norwegian healthcare context. Now we have to be clear here. Dementia cannot be cured, but what Winsnes proved is a real game changer. Through targeted conversation therapy, these language difficulties can actually be stabilized. Patients and their relatives can learn vital communication strategies to live with these challenges and, most importantly, maintain their relationships.
Moving on to Part 2, the toolkit, how relatives can maintain connection. Okay, let's dive into this, because this is where the practical magic happens. Winsnes developed her approach by asking couples to send in video recordings of themselves talking naturally at home. By analyzing these videos, she identified exactly where conversations broke down and, more importantly, what relatives instinctively did that actually helped. From this, she built a highly effective toolkit specifically designed to help relatives support these patients. First up, relatives must speak slowly and use short sentences. If a conversation partner talks too fast or uses really long, complex phrasing, it just creates immense frustration. The patient simply can't process it. Second, relatives have to help the patient talk around the missing word. And finally, when verbal language completely fails, they must rely on visual aids like drawing out the difficult concepts. To really bring that talking around strategy to life, consider this heartwarming anecdote straight from the study. A woman was entirely stuck, unable to find a specific word. Her husband calmly prompted her to just speak around it. So she described it. She said, the stuff we have in the garden, we picked it yesterday, then we made what we eat, and it was very good. And her husband instantly replied, you mean apple jam. Boom! She knew exactly what the concept was. She just needed the space and the strategy to navigate around that mental roadblock. It's kind of like a giant puzzle they solved together. And then there's the drawing workaround, which is so simple but so brilliant. The study strongly recommends that relatives ensure a notepad and pen are always kept handy. One incredible story from the research involved a patient who was trying to tell her partner what she had done the day before. The word was completely 100% gone. So she just picked up a pen and sketched out a stage scene. Instantly, her conversation partner understood she had been to the theater. By switching mediums, they completely bypassed the linguistic barrier. Problem solved.
Now let's look at Part 3, Beyond Breakfast, Adult Conversations and Dignity. And this brilliantly illustrates a crucial point. It's not just about the mechanics of how we speak. It's incredibly important to look at what we speak about. You see, when someone struggles to form sentences, it is unfortunately very common for the people around them to start treating them a bit like children. It's incredibly easy to let daily conversation devolve entirely into basic routines. You know, what do you want for breakfast, or are you cold? But preserving the patient's dignity is absolutely vital. They must be treated as adults. These patients still have vibrant minds. They have strong opinions on complex, important societal topics. During the conversation training in the study, they frequently discussed politics, like the war in Ukraine. Just because their language is impaired does not mean their intellect or their interest in the world is gone. They must be taken seriously and engaged on adult topics.
Which leads us to part 4, reconnecting, a new shared everyday life.
Knowing the strategies is one thing, right? But actively applying them to build a new, sustainable daily routine, that is the ultimate goal here. Patients in the study reported that this felt entirely different from standard hospital follow-ups because it directly integrated into their home life and encompassed their whole relationship. The structure of the treatment is a highly practical cycle. First, the therapist and the couple set very specific communication goals based on their actual life. Second, and this is the big one, they practice these strategies at home, in the kitchen, in the living room, exactly where they need them. Third, they return to the clinic to evaluate what worked and what didn't. The entire focus is on transferring these skills directly into their everyday reality.
Which brings us full circle to that couple we talked about at the very beginning. You remember? The ones who had completely given up talking? Well, through this tailored training, learning to speak in short sentences, to draw and to talk around words, they achieved something really beautiful. Today, they have established a fixed daily conversation time. Every single day, they set aside a dedicated moment just to sit and engage in a meaningful conversation, actively maintaining their relationship and their connection to each other. It really puts things into perspective, doesn't it? As Winsness points out, we use language constantly in every single relationship we have, and we rarely think about how vital it is until it starts slipping away. This research proves that with patience, the right tools, and a little creativity, human connection can endure even the toughest linguistic barriers. So as we wrap up this explainer, I'll leave you with this to chew on. How much do you value the simple, everyday conversations in your own life? Thanks for exploring this fascinating and hopeful study with me today. Take care, and hey, keep those conversations going.